Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical, and today for you guys we're going to be taking a look at the English as well as the Japanese version of the Kingdom Hearts 2017 Orchestra trailer. In yesterday's video we kind of briefly talked about the fact that sometimes within the trailers for Kingdom Hearts 3 and even in the past with 0.2 Birth by Sleep, there seems to be differences within the gameplay that's shown within those trailers when comparing the English version to the Japanese version. Now, generally these differences aren't really too significant. It's more so a case of Sora being in a slightly different position, say in the Japanese version, opposed to the English version. But every so often you might actually notice Sora using perhaps a different ability than he would use in the English version, which is always very interesting stuff. So today I'm going to be doing a full-on comparison between the English and Japanese version. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day, and without further ado, let's jump into it. Now in the first scene we see Sora skydiving. Now there's really not too much difference when looking at the Japanese to English version right here, but you might actually notice that Sora will be swaying a little bit differently within the Japanese version compared to that of the English version, but for the most part the sequence seems to be fairly the same. Now where it gets really interesting is this part right here. Now you guys can clearly see that shortly before Sora activates Counter Shield, he actually uses an uppercut move on the Japanese version opposed to what he's doing in the English version. So this is a clear example of Sora using a different ability or a different sort of attack within the Japanese version, comparing it to that of the English version. Also, when Sora activates the huge counter shield ability, he's also standing in a different location compared to that of the English version. And this is something that you guys will probably notice a lot within this comparison, the fact that Sora is generally in different positions than he is within the English version. We then see Sora fighting a bunch of what looks to be Minotaur Heartless on a set of stairs. The difference here is Sora seems to be fighting the Minotaurs up the stairs rather than fighting the Minotaurs down the stairs that we see in the English version. We then see Sora using Shot Lock within Counter Shield, but we don't really see too much difference here, just more or less a different camera angle. The same sort of similar thing is also going on in this scene when Sora is using Second Form. It's not really too different in terms of what's actually going on, but just more or less camera angles. Now this scene right here is actually quite different in the Japanese version. In the English version, Sora is clearly focusing on a Soldier Heartless. He breaks out into a ground combo and finishes it up with a Blizzaga. In the Japanese version, rather, Sora actually focuses on an Aerial Heartless and breaks into what looks to be something like Aerial Dive, I believe, and then of course finishes it up with Blizzaga. These next few scenes with Sora using different magics as well as Counter Shield don't really seem to be different in terms of content, but in terms of where Sora is actually standing and the camera position itself, it is most certainly different in the Japanese version. Now when looking towards the second gameplay scene of Second Form, in terms of any differences here, it's really hard to tell. I actually believe that this point in the trailer is the most identical for the Japanese when comparing it to the English version. For the most part, Sora seems to be in the same positions as we see him in the English version. And for the final gameplay scene of the trailer, we then see Sora running up the mountain to of course fight the Rock Titan. Now once again, I didn't really notice too many differences here, but when we look at the flow motion section when Sora is of course using flow motion, there is actually one thing that I noticed with the Japanese version. For some reason it appears to be that there's like two cuts when Sora is specifically using flow motion in the Japanese version, whereas it's an entire gameplay scene for the English version. There's no, different clips going on. In the Japanese version as well, it looks like Sora is using flow motion dash, which was an ability in, of course, Dream Drop Distance. So from the looks of things, it looks like that ability is going to be returning for flow motion, in which you can most likely dash towards enemies and then, of course, start inflicting damage. And that is pretty much it, guys. In terms of the cutscenes within this trailer, because they are cutscenes and not gameplay, they remain exactly the same and are identical in both versions of the trailer. So that is pretty much it, guys. That is all of the differences and little kind of things that I noticed within the two different versions of the trailer. It's always very interesting to know that there are differences within the Japanese version opposed to the English version, mainly because of the fact that the gameplay that we see within these trailers are actual gameplay. And of course, to replicate the exact same gameplay sequence, within two different versions for a trailer specifically, seems to be a pretty hard task, but for the most part, Square Enix managed to do it pretty damn well. If you guys notice any other little things while watching this comparison, let me know in the comments section down below. Hopefully, guys, are having a fantastic day, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.